Andy, let's say some guy walks off the street. He's got cash in hand or the digital synthetic Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon-like equivalent of digital wire cash or whatever they call that fiat these days. Please don't tell me about spot. If somebody says, I want an ounce of silver, how many greenbacks does that cost? Hello there, my Arcadian friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. On September 22nd, the historic day where after decades of intense analysis building upon each other since the Federal Reserve's inception back in 1913, and 108 years later with all the advancements in technology and elsewise and brilliance in Keynesian central banking, socialist, fascist economics, Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve, resolved all of that volatility that's been built into quad witching Friday, last Friday, Andy. So I only knew up to triple witching Friday back in my option trading days when I was running a specialist market maker post on the New York Stock Exchange for Susquehanna International Group, a little known but perhaps influential market maker in the option space. And after all of that, the lead up, here I was trading my VIXY options, VIXY, the VIX of the VIX. And Jerome, the maestro, as CNBC called him earlier in the last year or so, Powell, came back with the incredible interest rate forecast that they might taper soon. Now, again, we don't know when he said that because they had to have time to write that statement, then give it to CNBC, prepare CNBC to read it on the air, record videos about it, get Goldman Sachs' opinion about it. Of course, Goldman Sachs could have called Fed Rosengrund or Kaplan, who are apparently under investigation for insider trading ahead of the Fed stock taper, who is doing the investigation. None other than Jerome Powell himself, whose press conference went on a little longer today than expected. Maybe that's because the U.S. has already technically defaulted on the debt ceiling. But we'll get more clarification on that over the next month. And to break down all that action and the often overlooked yet undervalued physical silver market is Andy Schectman, James Bond Schectman of Miles Franklin, as some people call him. Andrew, how are you today, sir?
Chris, I'm doing well, and I can tell by your gregarious mood you're doing well too, brother. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, you like that intro, huh? I was practicing, buddy.
That was a mouthful. It was fantastic.
Aprendiendo the intro. So, Andy, I've given you a week to prepare for some of the trick curveball brainbuster questions that I'm going to fire at you today. So I would consider that fair game. I told you didn't have to answer when I called you back. I called you on your regular phone.
Well, I figure I'm going to screw it up anyway. I figure you're going to throw the curveball. I'm used to it by now. That's all good, man. I'll give it my best shot.
I think he's telling the catcher he's going to throw a screwball, which will break the opposite way of a curveball. But, Andy, I'm ready to hit that shit. So bring it on, brother, because the question I have to ask today, I feel a little embarrassed. I have this show where we talk about silver. I've been building a Silverman suit. I don't know if I'm fit to wear this beautiful thing or not. Let's make sure we give away a lot of silver before the end of this show. Yara, can you attest to that? She's on speakerphone here. She's here in Mexico preparing for Silverfest. Also, get some more hotel rooms. We might have a few extra coming. So, with that said, will promise to give away. How about, Andy? I'll throw in 50 ounces of silver. Who knows what the post-reset value of those could be? You want to call that one? So you're on the call for 50 ounces too?
Sure, anything for you, buddy. Anything
All
for
right.
you.
Yara takes 50 ounces from my account at Andy Schectman's Miles Franklin Vault. Andy's going to throw 50 in. During the chat, whenever we broadcast this call, I have full confidence as the new executive director of Arcadia Economics that you can get these 100 ounces of silver hopefully into the hands of as many people who do not yet have a single ounce so they can feel physical silver and how beautiful it feels in their hand. Because, Andy, I'm still a little confused. I've heard about this spot price a lot. People talk about the COMEX. I think you know our dear friend Rafi the Wise Farber of the Endgame Investor.
They do?
Well, remember we had that whole thing where he was going to get physical delivery of silver. He was going to buy silver from the COMEX, who's pricing all this stuff. But so far, I don't think he's gotten any silver. Is that your understanding?
I've never seen anything like that, Chris. Ever. I've never seen anything like that. Really,
anything
I
like
find
the
it to
COMEX
be crazy.
actually delivering silver?
No, anything like a company coming out with the program saying you can take delivery, and here we have me and you and Rob and Rafi and other people and Dave all chiming in that will help do it, will help with information, with funding, all of it. And here we are 2 months later, and he still doesn't have it. What does that say for the public who tries to do it on their own? Good luck. There's not a snowball's chance in Mexico.
Andy, I'm going to throw another 10 ounces, 10 Silver Philharmonic ounces into the Arcadia Foundation account of what Yar will be tasked with giving away. Would you care to call those 10 ounces? That would bring you up to 60 commitment to get ounces into the hands of Silver Possible, all the people. If I say that I could dispute your assertion, would you be willing to throw another 10 ounces out of your own generosity? I know people say you're talking your book, but now you're actually giving away silver. This is going to be broadcast live. You don't have control of what I'm planning here. So will you raise to 60 ounces? I'm in for 60 as well.
I will always have your back. I'll be your wingman, buddy.
Okay, Andy. Well, if you said you've never seen anything like the COMEX refusing to deliver, or some could say almost outright defaulting on one single COMEX contract, I would re-raise that 10 ounces up to 60 by saying, Andy, do you not remember what happened when we called SLV iShares at BlackRock? I mean, you've heard something similar to this before.
But the difference is with SLV.
COMEX. Go ahead.
The difference is with SLV, and I listened to that call. I thought that call was, I thought you were fantastic on that call. But the difference is, in SLV, you can never take possession of the metal. This is a company who came out with a product and blasted it all over this industry, saying you can buy contracts or take possession of silver through a COMEX contract in your account, telling people that this is easy to do. And here we are 2 months later with 6 of us involved in it and no silver. And the messages that Rafi sends us are the height of crazy. Like, it's just ridiculous that they're allowed to go out and publicly tell people this is an option when, for all intent and purposes, it's absolutely not. So I think you owe me now some silver.
Well, I'm not sure. We'll make sure these 120 ounces, I believe Yar can get them to the hands of good people. But I guess where I would respectfully assert a difference of opinion, because you said the difference, although I would assert the only distinguishing quality that I can tell different between the COMEX, JP Morgan, or BlackRock is the name on the same commingled label, because whether it's COMEX, BlackRock, iShares, JP Morgan, they're all selling paper silver that it doesn't seem – I mean, we might get information on the JFK assassination before Jamie Dimon explains where he's going to get that silver from. And, Andy, I know we said we were going to keep this short. You got a lot of interviews to do. CNBC may be calling you next, knowing how popular you are. I've been trying to call you for a couple of days. You're like a big-time internet celebrity. You don't remember your old buddy Chris anymore. I understand, though. I get it.
Never. I'm always there for you, brother.
Let take over.
Let me explain to you and your listeners one thing, and I'm just a small company who does things old school, who is yet to open up his new online store. We sold over 600,000 ounces of silver last week. One company. 600. That's a lot of silver. One company in 1 week. So
how much would you imagine you sold in your average week in 2017 for comparative purposes?
20,000, 25,000, 50,000 max. I mean, and 17 was the worst year ever to own a precious metals company, so probably less than that. But
what was another
the amount of
good
silver
year
that we're selling now. Excuse me?
Then let's compare it not to the worst year, but maybe 2016 where there was a rally. I mean, there's not really been much of a rally in 2021 when you think about it. I mean, we hit $29 back August, was it, of 2020 when Silver Bill Murphy was finally vindicated after about a decade or so, saying, watch out when silver breaks through 21. It shot up to 29. It was almost like the powers that be had a glass ceiling at 30. Rumor around town, I mean, I hear a lot of stuff. It's hard to distinguish, but I hear 20 is the attempted new 30. Whether that will manifest didn't seem to go so well for Jerome, Joe, and the gang, along with Nancy and Gavin today. But nonetheless, I mean, here we are. We're in the middle of a hyperinflation campaign, and the COMEX spot price is in the 22 region. So after that long, eloquent intro by both of us, if I may be as bold as to say so, Andy, let's say some guy walks off the street. He's got cash in hand, or the digital synthetic Federal Reserve Jerome Powell, JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon-like equivalent of digital wire cash, or whatever they call that fiat these days. Please don't tell me about spot. If somebody says, I want an ounce of silver, how many greenbacks does that cost? As of what time is it right now on your phone? We're Wednesday, 5:32
6:30 Eastern.
Does that sound right?
Yep, that sounds right.
So at least if someone calls you right now and said, hey, I don't care what kind of silver, I just want an ounce, how many of these I have to give you? Because I don't want the COMEX. I called BlackRock. I couldn't get answers there. Jamie Dimon doesn't have time to call me back. Jeff Curry of Goldman Sachs. Even him, he hasn't called me back. I left a personal voice message. Plus, the CFTC, I know they get a lot of calls with that transparency policy they have. So I'm going to ask you, someone who actually has given me physical silver before. I might add, you've been a sponsor to the show, although you've also been a good friend for years before you were a sponsor to the show. I don't think there's chocolate inside any of those silver ounces you sent. So as someone who has a reputation in the industry, I think it would be safe to say, of delivering what people ask for. It's not like the IRS where they say they're going to protect you and they use the threat of force to take something. You just do good business. That's why you're still in business. There's a lot of people in your fan club. So I ask you, with all of those credentials, what's the price of an ounce of silver today?
You know what? I love you, Chris. I really do, brother. You're a good man.
I love is not going to get you into the bank, or it might. You never know.
Right now, if someone wants to buy an ounce of silver, it will cost them $25.25, give or take a penny or two. But that would be the least expensive way to buy 1 ounce of silver. If someone wanted to buy 1,000 ounces of silver in one giant block, you could probably take $1 off of that number or somewhere close to it. But in 1 ounce form, $25.25 as of right this second.
All right. Well, how about this, Andy? Maybe you can, I'll get this call posted tonight. So maybe, well, I checked the Kitco price. You know, we can get competing bids here. Maybe they have a better price.
They might. I doubt it, but it's possible.
All right, Andy. Here's the thing, though. I just looked at Kitco chart. Their ask, which for my trading days, I remember him synthetically meaning the offer, is $22.79. Why should somebody give you $25.25 for an ounce of silver when Kitco's selling it? They're saying the ask price is $22.79. What up with that?
Well, it's because that's what the supposed price of silver is.
That
globally.
For pooled, allocated, unallocated accounts, something that could be
you can't buy
rehypothecated?
anything for the spot price. It's just for everything trades off of the spot price, a function of the spot price, the cost of production, distribution, advertising, all that stuff goes into it, and supply and demand especially. So, you know, the spot price is a moving target. Everyone's going to be close. Everyone has the same similar type of price, varied by a penny or two based upon the switch off of the forward trading month. But the bottom line is that nothing trades at the spot price ever when you buy, because of the cost associated with bringing that piece of ore to the end user in the form of a shiny coin or bar.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. I appreciate you answering, even though I didn't quite understand the part with the spot price where you can't get silver delivered. I'm a little confused on that still. But Andy, in wrapping up, last question before you mention if you did have a special particular type of coin that people could get somewhere near the 25-25 level. I mean, I don't know. You have offered to match or beat the best price in the country, which I thought was nice. I appreciate that for the Arcadians. But one last, I did not promise that I wouldn't give you curveballs. What would you say might happen in the case that letter that I analyzed of Janet Yellen's on September 8th, it was really confusing to read. I bet a team of even J.P. Morgan lawyers actually probably could reconcile it, since maybe they have information from one of the Fed governors. I don't know. I'm just speculating based on the CNBC headlines. But when she mentioned when the extraordinary measures run out, the only date in the letter that had not yet occurred was September 15th. And then later that day, Janet Yellen was doing a press conference with Kamala Harris, really threatening Americans with how our children are going to go to the hands of the devil if the government is not in control of the children and gets more dollars for child care assistance, which seemed bizarre to me. I know Janet's probably concerned about the kids, and rightfully so. That's obviously an important issue. But just under the rare case that this was her way of continuing a long sequence of accounting fraud that we've seen as a pattern emerge throughout the banking and government industry for a long time as the debt ceiling continues to get raised. She also did say it could be catastrophic, which was not able to deter most of Congress from going on vacation. And Andrew, now we're on September 22nd, the start of the fourth quarter on October 1st, also known as the start of the U.S. fiscal calendar. So just in the rare case that Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell, who could be considered Fed insiders, now they could be investigating the other Fed insiders who apparently were selling Apple and tech stocks before the decision to taper, multi-million-dollar trades. Nancy Pelosi, maybe her husband Paul Pelosi, who is a gifted option trader, as I've been learning about this year, tipped them off. What could, in case these aren't all just conspiracies, and there's some truth there. With all of that said, do you have a special that you could offer to folks? Again, I don't have the license credentials of the CFTC. But if they would like to purchase some physical silver, not that papery plastic stuff that J.P. Morgan's credit cards offer, because I know you don't take that shit, is there anything you could pass along to the fellow Arcadians before we wrap up? I know you got a lot to do on your press tour and all that. You're always talking silver, and a lot of people, and even the women, are getting interested in silver these days. So what could you share there, sir? I'll stop and listen now.
I would sell the Arcadia listeners the following. Now, I think there's a fine line between penny wise and pound foolish. Sometimes it isn't wise to buy the cheapest form of silver, because one of the things that silver offers is utility, and you want to be able to easily utilize the value of silver if and when you ever need it. Dependent upon how high it goes, so that's irrelevant. I guess it's more along the lines of, do you have immediate liquidity? We have the 2021 4 coins that I would offer your listeners, all of them at $3.65 over the price of silver. The 2021 Philharmonic, the 2021 Kangaroo, the 2021 Britannia, and the 2021 Krugerrand. All of them I have in stock or able to ship within 5 days at $3.65 over the price of silver, which currently, according to Kitco, is
no, I don't want Kitco. I want Andy Schectman, Miles Franklin price dollars. I can't do this complex option math. Just dollar fiat price for folks like my mom who listen to the show, and I want things to be as clear and transparent as Ross the Boss would advocate.
At this very moment, our price is $26.46 an ounce for any of those 4 premium coins 2021s, and that's as good of a price as we've seen premium-wise the better part of 18 months.
Well, Andy, as always, I can't thank you enough for the fantastic testimony against the banking cartel that you have given today on the air. I know a lot of men like Jamie Dimon or Larry Fink, whatever his name is, Ross the Boss, would not put their name and face and answer the tough questions. With that said, though, to get you prepped for the first annual Arcadia Silver Poker World Series tournament, that's Silverfest 2, just about a month away. Yara may be getting trained to buy as many hotel rooms in the nearby area as possible in a short period of time while the dollar still has value. Andy, now that you have told us the price of a physical ounce of silver, what is the Miles Franklin price on a silver chopper Ben?
Don't know, but I'm dying for one, and I've had people beg me to ask you if they can get one. So, don't know. That's a good question.
So a pre-reset ounce of silver, about $25, 25 fiat notes. A post-reset silver chopper, Ben Bernanke, priceless. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, that is why they call him James Bond Schectman, the legend. Andy, is there like a rate on your autographs at Silverfest 2, or what are we looking at here? Are you going to do generosity out of your heart till your hand is still circulating blood, or what are we looking at?
I can't wait, buddy. I can't wait. You don't want my signature. You want yours on the back of your book, on the back of the big silver short book that dons my desk. I'm going to bring it and have you sign it for me right then and there.
Well, my Arcadian friends, because I love you and would only want to give good, helpful advice, I've recorded hundreds of minutes of Andrew Schectman testimony that you can all study before you join the Arcadia Poker Tournament. It's in Mexico, so I'll take care of the licensing. They got casinos everywhere. Now you know his playbook. You know his thought patterns. He's revealed it all, yet he's still going to join the tournament. Andy, I can't wait to see you here. Thank you for finally explaining the price of silver. I thought that SLV price was not right. As I continue to not get answers from BlackRock, yet then see their executives quoted by CNBC and called experts, I wish they had put that guy on the phone to me. So I don't really trust BlackRock too much either. Goldman Sachs and Jeff Curry, well, let's just keep it positive. No need to go there. Andrew, I love you, and I will look forward to seeing you at Silverfest too, sir.
One last thing before I say goodbye. I love you too, Chris. And without mentioning any names, God's honest truth, a BlackRock employee called me today basically saying that she was sick and tired of what was going on and wanted to buy precious metals and get out of the system. And she says she felt like she had sold her soul to the devil. So, you know what? I think it's starting to permeate even into the inner recesses of the evil empire. Maybe even some of the people who had no idea what was really happening are listening to your show and figuring it out.
Yara, look at Grandpa Schectman slow playing the full house. He doesn't know whether I have the royal flush, but he slow played that full house. What did you just say about BlackRock? Because you got more information about BlackRock than apparently their iShares SLV customer representatives were willing to share with me. Even when they agreed, and you know I'm fortunate enough to have sponsors for the show. Some people pay money to come talk about silver. They didn't even want that free promotion, so apparently they were willing to tell you offline. Is there something you could repeat that you feel comfortable sharing about what BlackRock just told you?
Not what BlackRock told me, what a employee of BlackRock who sells some of their
probably
some
not
of
their
their
investor
securities.
relations employee, right?
Yeah, and basically she said she felt as though she sold her soul to the devil, and she's contemplating actually walking away from her paycheck and her career solely so that she can access her 401k, which is, in her words, being held hostage, so that she can have some sort of ability to control her funds herself and buy physical metal and take possession of it. So, you know what? I think people are starting to get it, Chris, and that's the moral of the story, is that people are getting it. And it's not just us, tinfoil hat fanatics any longer that are talking about it. It's permeating all the way into the mainstream, and because of guys like you.
Andy, just to concretize the learning lesson one third and final time here, are you saying that someone who works for BlackRock called you to buy silver because they felt that would be the spiritual equivalent of purifying their soul from the devil? I want to make sure I have the nomenclature correct.
More or less, yes. That is pretty much verbatim.
Good enough for me.
She was a lovely young lady, by the way. She was a lovely young lady and very smart and totally gets it and understands it and is faced with a moral dilemma, Chris. And we'll see who wins, evil or darkness. But she's trending towards the light. That I can promise you.
Did her voice sound at all familiar, like maybe a BlackRock guy shares customer call, investor representative that you may have heard
I don't
on the
think it
Arcadia
was
channel?
that representative. And you know what?
Don't answer that. Review respectful.
Let me say that representative held up against your curveballs as well as anyone I've ever heard, ever. She didn't buckle and she didn't throw Effenheimers and she hung in there. So I felt bad for people who finally realize that what they are doing is fleecing the public and trying to contemplate walking away from a cushy job on Wall Street in order to, as you say, purify their soul. And yes, that is what was happening.